On behalf of PerfectGame.tv, my name is Darren Sutton. How do you gauge a successful travel ball team? I guess you start with wins, right? Well, for the Florida Burn and their founders, Craig Faulkner and Mark Guthrie, they've had huge championship wins. The 2018 and the 2019 World Wood Bat Association World Championships in Jupiter. An impossible event to win once, let alone in back-to-back years. Here's the interesting thing. When you look at those rosters, they weren't the deepest rosters. They didn't have the most college commits or the most ranked players, but they played as a team and they build their program as such from 13, 14, 15, and 16 years old. That's exactly what they want to pull off and develop young men as well. Here's my conversation with Mark Guthrie. So when someone pitches in nearly 800 games in the major leagues, the logical question is, why more baseball? And especially with the younger and the future of the game, what drew you and Craig Faulkner, who has had such a successful career as a prep coach and now travel coach? Why more baseball? What pulled you into building and founding the Florida Burn, Mark?
That's interesting. I think there was a few things. Number one was, I think, playing for Skip Bertman at LSU. Craig and I were roommates there together and just kind of learned the game at a different level, we thought. And I think it made us appreciate the game a little bit more, even though we thought we couldn't possibly do that. So when we were in the minor leagues, we used to do a bunch of clinics and things in our hometown, and just to try to, create a little bit more sense of the game around our hometown. And we had a lot of fun with that. And then when Craig ended his career, he went back and became the head coach at Venice High School, which is our alma mater. And we've just kind of been involved. And then I got involved on a different level as my sons grew older. And I was lucky enough, right around the last year I played, to kind of get involved with their, little league and travel ball scenes, and loved it. Really loved it as much as I loved playing, and been very fortunate to meet some super people and enjoy some really special moments with my family. So all around, it's just kind of what we do, I guess.
What pieces of your professional game, or even the Skip Bertman impact on your life, do you take with you now, as you truly are a man of player development? There's no doubt you're a man of player development. They're just younger. What pieces of your player development life do you take with you with the Burn?
Well, I think when we think back to what we learned at LSU with Skip, I think that formed the entire blueprint for our Florida Burn organization. Craig and I kind of mastered, I guess, as good as you can, that blueprint for 4 years at LSU. And our coaches that are now in their 30s that coach for us came to our camps and played for Craig at Venice High School, many of them. And so they kind of learned the blueprint as well. So that blueprint has helped us in our ability to develop players, because there's kind of continuity throughout our whole organization, and we're able to communicate better, and our coaches know what we're looking for in kids, and we know what they're teaching, and it's better than just going in blind and hiring good people and trying to hope that it works out. I think so. That continuity that we learned through that blueprint was very important.
So there may be top to bottom teams that, when you play in these events, that have more ranked players, let's say, more committed players. But you seem to, in the bigger events, the UBC earlier this year and the last two events in Jupiter, which is impossible to win. It's a crazy event to win in Jupiter. And you've done it back to back. You've done it twice. It's now in Fort Myers this year. But you seem to build a team. And you know what I mean by that, Mark? It's not just a team like the rosters there, but you seem to build pitchers that match up, attitude, selflessness. Am I right in seeing all that?
I believe so. I think we're proud of that. You're right. There's definitely teams with more talent than us. But as I always tell Jeff when he's doing interviews with us as well, I said, our kids are pretty good. And they're, we've been fortunate enough to have a handful of extremely talented kids on each team when they come through. And those kids have been with us for 4 or 5 years. And by the time they get to their senior year, they've learned kind of what it takes. We like to take them when they're younger to experience, events like Jupiter.
You take a top 50 guy, and rankings are what they are. They're still subjective, right? But you take a guy who's ranked top 50. Have you found that those handful of players on your team, when it's all said and done in the years that they play together, and you can look back on those teams and say, okay, there's a couple of guys that in the world's eyes, in the baseball world's eyes, may have been near the bottom of that roster. have grown so much because of the trust that we have in them as coaches and playing with these elite guys that now they're going to college too. Their interaction with some of the elite guys have brought them to a level. Guess what? They're going to play in college too.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. That's an enormous point, a very important point. And we even tell the kids, even on teams where you don't have a boisterous kind of leader, we tell the kids, look, you're going to learn more from the teammate of yours that plays the game the right way than you're ever going to learn from me regurgitating all this stuff at you for 4 years. So you need to pay attention to that guy and find out what makes him successful. Find out, what he does, when the spotlight isn't on him, and what makes him a special player.
How much does it mean for you inside and for the families, especially the good ones? And I'm guessing you have some credentials and you have to fall in line. And my parents have to, live and breathe a certain way to help our organization grow. So when you have that moment in that empty stadium in Jupiter, no one's there. It's just a handful of people compared to early on. But how much does it mean to see your kids celebrate, to dogpile in back-to-back years, but in those moments that we'll never understand? What does it mean?
It means a lot because those kids go through a lot. Those kids, they've had teammates along the way that may not have bought into what we're trying to sell to them too. And they stick through it. They go through the times when things aren't going so well when they're younger most of the time. And they've been through, all different sorts of baseball by the time they get there. This is kind of their last hurrah. And it's kind of the culmination. And you're definitely not going to win it all the time. But having a successful showing, and coming together as a team and realizing how special that is when you walk away, just to always have that together is everything.
What advice do you have for parents? You were one, right? You were and are a sports parent. You never stopped being that, but you now deal with parents in a different way. And I'm not just talking about your parents. What advice do you have for all parents that see this piece? I mean, this is going to stream everywhere. What advice do you have for parents of an athlete, softball, baseball, that might be pretty good, Mark, and maybe starting to play a little bit?
Well, looking back on it as a parent myself, I think the most important thing is to enjoy your experience with your children and not gripe about the 8 a.m. games or the going away or missing things. You think you're missing things when you go into these things, but you're really gaining things, getting to experience these things with your kids. We still go back and with my two older boys who have now graduated college, we go back and talk about different tournaments and different things we've experienced, whether, not necessarily winning tournaments, just funny things that we saw or certain players that we saw, or maybe some umpires that we thought were funny or bad or good or whatever. And I think you can get caught up in which recruiters are at the game, are there any scouts here? Is this guy here? Is that guy here? Is he thinking on this or that? And it can take away from what really makes great players great, is competing and, rising to that level against great competition and just playing the game to win.
So what you didn't see in the shot over his shoulder was a world championship trophy, but it's in that office. 1991, Minnesota Twins. 1989 to 2003, a career that lasted forever in the major leagues, now passing along that wisdom to a lot of talented young players who are winning a bunch as well. On behalf of PerfectGame.tv, and in this case, the Florida Burn, my name is Darren Sutton.